Today is November 7th, and we're talking all about the Yankees. Starting rotation for next year, what it is, what it should be, what it could be. Also, they dropped some players to make room on the 40-man. We'll discuss that as well. Thank you, and welcome to Talkin' Yanks. Recaps galore, weekly awards, stat lines, theme, and hot takes. Get your Yankees news from these two fine dudes. It's time for Talkin' Yanks. Talkin' Yanks with old John Boy and Jake. Talkin' Yanks with old John Boy and Jake. Hello and welcome to Talkin' Yanks, which is brought to you by SeatGeek. My name's Jimmy. His name is Jake. And we are talking Yanks, BBD behind the dish today. And I believe, are we still running the postseason for
Yanks?
Oh, it's just
Yanks is back, Jim. Yanks is back. It's SeatGeek. Download the SeatGeek app. The playoffs are done. The postseason is over. So SeatGeek is back with code Yanks, $20 off your first purchase with promo code Yanks. Download the SeatGeek app. And yeah, I mean, you've got a lot of time to go see some different things. They've got theater tickets, concerts, or I think spring training's like already up. So, you know, the 24 Yankees pursuit for a championship starts now. Do it with SeatGeek, code Yanks.
How are you, Jake?
Nailed it. I'm good, Jim. I'm good. The offseason's here. 23 is in our rear view. The Snakes, the Diamondbacks, have been super awesome to us as a company and myself personally, so it's fun to bandwagon for a little bit, and it's funny to see some of the Yankees teenagers being like, how could you do that, man? How could you root for them? And it's a classic case of if someone's nice to us, we're nice to them back. And what those fans should be asking themselves is, why aren't you asking more from the Yankee side of the relationship? Because they could still be playing ball later into the year, or just being nice to us as a company. So ask more of the Yankees. That's my off-season task for a lot of fans, and that's what we need. Beebs, you raise your hand.
I have a follow-up question for the people. Well, not a question so much, just it's a shirt. Like, don't get hung up on a shirt.
Yeah, no, I mean,
What are you? The shirt? What's happening?
People get mad that Jake wears Diamondbacks.
No, it's not even real people. I'm more so a thanks to the Diamondbacks. It's teenagers who want to do the, how could you wear another team's jersey, dude?
No.
And I'm saying to them it's because you get old.
Catch me dead.
I don't care that you wear another team's jersey, but I can't wear other team's jerseys.
You get older and people are nice. Yeah. If someone's nice to us, or someone's nice to me, I'm going to be nice back. And the Snakes were awesome. So hope the Yanks start being nicer and start putting a better product on the field. And I think you should root for that too. How are you doing, Jim?
I'm good. I'm excited. It's the offseason. There's people that are off the Yankees that are not on the Yankees anymore. They're officially free agents. Like if you go to the websites we go to, Roster Resource, or, even just like the Yankees.com 40-man, there's some openings. They outrighted some people to the minors. Web Dog, sorry about you. We'll see in spring. But enjoy the golfing. Booney thinks you're a great golfer. He says you're a great golfer.
Every time he gets brought up.
I believe him. So, I mean, some of the moves change what like Fangraphs has as projected top 9. Like Florial's currently the starting center fielder now.
Right.
And batting 9 hole, with Bowers as the starting left fielder and batting in the 7th hole.
Yep.
So those guys are still around, but some have left. And the depth, like the lack of depth, is kind of like even more apparent when you go look at all the sites and read, oh, yeah, he's gone. So we're going to do a full deep dive into the pitching rotation. BBD has prepped a fun sheet for us, kind of like internal options, external options. How should we feel? And
no external options. We're just looking inward right now.
Oh, okay.
Imagine in the next few weeks we will do a full
My bad.
free agency
I knew that, but yes.
and all of that.
So I'm excited to look at the pitching because it is offense. Some people will see the headline for this episode and be like, who cares? They need offense. They need pitching too. I think that's like, it's more equal than you think in need, which isn't good. But the moves that they did make, Jake, you can say goodbye to Matt Bowman, outrighted to the minors. Jimmy Cordero, outrighted to the minors. Franchi Cordero. Wow, the Cordero bros.
Yeah.
Outrighted to the minors. Domingo Germán, outrighted to the minors. That's a big one. And Ryan Weber, outrighted to the minors. Now, outrighted to the minors is like the phrasing they use, but
Yeah, but all 6 of these players have enough service time to, once they pass through waivers, elect free agents.
yes. So they're most likely, I don't know, do you think any of those guys accept, like, I want to stay in the system?
Ryan Weber.
Even then, I think he doesn't, and then they just go grab him again.
Yeah, I mean,
so just go do free agency and can resign.
Essentially, the news here is Domingo Germán is out, and it's news that I think Yankee fans have been waiting for a sneaky long time, depending how far back you want to go, and it had to happen because they've treated him as this like emergency blanket that you're going to need every year. And when you mention the Yankees have starting pitching needs, every team has starting pitching needs starting a new offseason. But, you know, as teams, every league looks at who just won their championship and say, how do we bottle up some of that? You know, the Texas Rangers sneaky had like 8 MLB starting pitchers this year. And if you go back in time, we start every spring training saying you're going to need 8. And there's different levels to it, right? Like, you know, there's going to be guys that underachieve. There's going to be guys that overachieve in a given year, whether you're looking at a young guy like Dane Dunning, who stepped up for the Texas Rangers this year, or someone like Martin Perez, who basically got $20 million and fell off this year. You know, DeGrom was out the whole season. Scherzer barely was by the end. That, you know, you need starting pitching depth, and that can happen in a lot of different ways, and you're going to need young guys to step up. You're going to need veterans. You know, we got 2 coin flip veterans we're going to talk about between our lefties this year. But Domingo Germán served as like a kind of a dirty breakout in case of emergency blanket, and the Yankees were going to tap into that every year. Because if your options are a Brito, a Vasquez, or whoever, or Domingo Germán, who's thrown a lot of MLB innings, you're going to tap into that.
It was also like it was like an easy situation to say we believe in second chances, and you know, he's like a great teammate and he's really changed, and it wasn't like he was the face. You know, because you've seen guys like that have still been blackballed because they're just such headline grabbers. So he was never like good enough to be, this was going to be like huge news and huge backlash that they had to face. And then he was never bad enough to just cut him, which maybe in a lot of people's mind they should have done a while ago. But, you know, all the retirings and the posts and the drama about it, and up until it like crash and burn last season, all the reports were he was, you know, a changed man, good teammate, all this stuff. And we know nothing about his personal life. But he always kind of fell in this middle ground of like, no one's going to be too hot either way. And the upside's there, so let's keep him around. And he threw a perfect game against the minor league A's. No one else did it, though. So credit to Domingo. I just making a jab at the A's. I was not knocking Domingo's perfect game. But yeah, they needed to just like move on. They need to move on from a lot of guys. This one, they definitely needed to just like, let's get out of this.
Yeah, the Yankees, what you're saying value wise, I mean, you know, last year he was on the books for $2.6 million, which a pitcher with his, you know, just pitching wise, a pitcher with his MLB history, you know, ERA in the mid 4s can throw you some innings. Like, technically on the books and roster-wise, that's a great value. But there's a lot of stuff off the field, and apparently a lot of new stuff resurfaced this year that, I don't know. It was funny as we talked around the office, early Yankees offseason talks, even like end of September when the season was over, when people were still talking about the starting pitching, they were like, and, you know, Domingo will probably be an option. And it's like, no. Like, if we're moving on to next chapters as Yankee fans, he has to be a part of the past, and now it looks like that's finally happening after, I mean, this dude was on the 2017 Yankees. And you do understand talent-wise, you know, Domingo Germán has MLB talent in him. He threw a perfect game against the quadruple A's this year. But
shots fired. Wow.
Had an 18-win season.
When you get into baseball and even playoffs, the playoff run that he did miss where we thought he was going to be an asset. Look at John Gray was another pitcher for the Texas Rangers who in his bit performances ended up being massive for Texas. That could Domingo Germán have done that for a team in a playoff run? Yes. He also could have got rocked. Like, that's the beauty of baseball. But that's why the Yankees kept him around, and that security blanket needed to go, and it's gone.
It's gone forever.
Gone, man.
Gone, baby. Gone. So goodbye, Domingo Germán. That leaves the pitching staff even lighter, Jake. And a lot of people to rely on that I don't know if they're at the level of reliability the Yankees need. The Yankees have relied on Domingo, we've talked about, as being a cog in the rotation, or plug, I should say.
Plug.
And they've relied on Sevy the last 2 years. And it was I don't know. So I'm glad we're getting rid of some of the people that they like to act like they could rely on that were never sure things. They haven't been replaced with sure things. So, a couple of years ago, we talked about Cole and the question marks. We're a little back to Cole and the question marks. I think they're better question marks than they were in that season, because who were they back then? I mean,
what year was Cole in the question marks?
I don't know. Was that the first year without Tanaka?
Cole in the question
That would have been 2021 would have been the first year post Tanaka, right?
Yeah, 2021.
Cole, Monty, JMO, Domingo, Nestor, who had not yet established himself.
Yeah, and then Domingo was the same, coming off suspension. Yep. And then JMO was, he was coming off injuries, 2 years of being injured. And Monty was the other one, coming off Tommy John, who had pitched one game. And
I think this was his first actual year back.
So
I guess 2020 he pitched, but weird year for everybody in the world.
In the whole world. So let's get into it. We got Gerrit Cole as the ace. We're excited about that. Going to win Cy Young.
As good of a one as you can have. As dependable and reliable as a one as you can have.
He does have an opt-out after this year, correct? If he wins Cy Young again, he's most likely going to opt out. Or if he's top 5.
Very well might do it anyway.
Yeah. If he has a
healthy.
plush year and if he's healthy, he's probably going to opt out.
I'd say so. And the Yankees, the way
I wouldn't say healthy.
Contract.
You have to be a certain level of good.
Well, I think he's there.
I don't think
as good as
I don't know.
Gerrit Cole can be in his sleep.
He'll be 34 if he doesn't have a good year to Gerrit Cole's standards. I don't think it's I don't think it's just health. He'd have to perform.
Well, I'd be interested to see how much money some pitchers get this offseason. How much is Monty going to get AAV? Because if he's anywhere close to what Cole's going to be getting, then Cole's going to get it. You look at what Scherzer got in his old age, even though that maybe didn't work out. What Verlander got maybe didn't work out. But you look at these numbers, and then you got to look at, is there a pitcher that he had a bad season this year? There's someone that had a bad walk year.
Aaron Nola?
Nola. Yes, that's who I'm talking about. Look at what Nola gets this year. And I think that'll lead you to know if Cole ends up having a 4 ERA next year, if he would still opt out or not. I think that's a good comp, right?
He'd be walking away from 4 years, 144. 1, 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, Cole.
At 36 a year.
Cole.
So let's see what Nola gets.
And the clause in there is if he opts out, the Yankees can just say, oh, no, tack on a 5th year at the same annual value.
Oh, so he's opting out.
So he'll opt out, and the Yankees will probably just tack that on. I think that's the
Yankees have
most likely.
The Yankees have a "we're not losing you" button.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I think they hit that no matter what.
Yeah.
I think pretty much no matter what.
So
that's how that's gonna play.
I didn't know they had basically get out of jail free card, or basically in a Monopoly deal what's that called? Sorry? It's a card where you're nah, You can't do that.
Sorry. Oops, card. Gerrit Cole he'll be here with the Yankees next year. We'll have
Just
more
say
time
no.
to talk about
Just
the
say no
Just
card.
Say no.
It's great.
He is, the year before 2022 was a 3.5 ERA, and I think it was like a 2.5 WAR pitching season where he follows it up with Cy Young 7.5 WAR season. So, you got to let the years happen and play out. And 34 is a big pitching difference number than some of the guys like Nola and things like that. But you have Cole for next year for being a 1. It's what you want for a 1. And you mentioned COVID being a weird year. A guy with, one of the more repeatable motions all time. One of the spin zones of being a Yankee fan with his first season in 2020 was he only pitched 73 innings, but in theory he was healthy. So, in the timeline of a pitching career, did that help almost reset his body a little bit and limit some innings in a way that doesn't normally happen in baseball history? Because everything else around that is a $181 plus. All the other seasons are 200 except the season coming off of 2020 where they were trying to limit his innings a little bit. So he is a workhorse.
He's awesome. He got 1 vote for Cy Young in that year. 1 vote puts him 10th. So officially it says he finished ninth. Top 10 in Cy Young voters just because one dude.
Yeah.
Probably a Yankees beat reporter because Nestor got some too.
Yeah, I think Nestor got 2 fifth-place votes and Cole got 1 or something like that.
Most strikeouts in the AL.
I always like to shout out that day IKF directly led to 5 runs.
Oh my God, IKF sabotaged him.
IKF sabotaged him that day.
Forgot about that.
Hilarious.
I forgot all about that. Well, IKF's gone.
IKF's gone.
Well,
currently not a Yankee.
Currently not a Yankee.
Yeah.
I'm just going to need to see it to believe it at this point. Because I was chopping up a list of a lot of top shortstops numbers the past couple seasons in baseball. IKF was on the list, a lot of the bottom of the list with Elvis Andrus and Miggy Rojas, Nicky Lopez. No, it's not on the bottom of the list. The farmer's dog. Jim's got 5 dogs. I've got 1, but he's the size of 5 dogs. And the farmer's dog is the best way to take care of your pooch because they have human-level grade food for your dog. Doesn't that kind of make sense? Healthier food for your dog. Doesn't matter if they're young or old. It's always the right time to be investing in their health. And they make it for your dog. There's a lot of different kinds of dogs out there. Go look at them. Big dogs, small dogs, Dr. Seuss book. And they get the right one for your pooch. Mine comes with Noodles' names on it. They make it for a big dog because he is a big dog. So you should go to Farmer's Dog. Not only to take care of your pooch, but also you're getting 15% off your first box of fresh, healthy food at thefarmersdog.com/JohnBoy. Get yourself some free shipping. That's farmersdog.com/JohnBoy. 50% off and free shipping. Click that link.
I have an interesting, in my opinion, comp on the Gerrit Cole free agency or tack-on year with the Yankees.
Okay.
So he is going to be 34 at the end of next year.
Yep.
If he opts out and then the Yankees throw down their just say no card and they're like, nah.
Another year.
You're still with us, but we give you another year. His contract then would be for 5 years, I believe, at 36 a year.
Yep.
5,180.
So 5,180, which is exactly what Jacob deGrom just got at his 35 year. So he's definitely going to opt out. I think the Yankees will take it, but it is interesting that, I don't know if a market can be set for him to get higher. Like Verlander got 40 mil, but over 3 years.
Yeah, a lot of options.
So it would be he would be like, I don't want to. Yankees are going to tack on a 5th year. I don't want to pitch a 5th year. I want to pitch 3 years and make tons of money and then be gone. But I don't think that's who Gerrit Cole is. So that DeGrom being like the same numbers is kind of, I found interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. A little, how good is your good versus how often are you on the field there?
Yeah. Well, they're good, and good is pretty similar to anyway.
DeGrom, doing historic things.
Yes, but so is
Gerrit's,
when you get to that level,
Yeah.
you're an ace's ace.
You're splitting some hairs, but
DeGrom's
The
best
nature of the
season ever
conversation
is
is
better than Cole's best season ever. But he just hasn't done that in a while.
yeah.
He hasn't made more than 15 starts in 4 seasons.
Yep.
All right. Now the first question marks. Carlos Rodon and Nestor Cortes. What can they be? What will they be? Carlos Rodon is on year 2 of a 6-year, $162 million contract. He's making $27 million a year, so still 9 less than Gerrit Cole. He's got a body that is riddled with IL stints from the forearm to the back to the hamstring to the shoulder. Looking for a clean slate next year, a full spring training. I think this is going to be the biggest dagger that could happen for me. Not the biggest, obviously, because Judge and Cole exist. But if Rodon doesn't get a full offseason and a full spring training, if he shows up to spring training and is shut down instantly, or we find out at the end of the year press conference that he's got to go he's got to get his shoulder cleaned up. There's some stuff in there, and that's going to set him back. Like, that would be like, I would sour. Everything's not kind of sour, but that would be like, whoa.
Everything's pretty sour. You can say that. Yeah, he's going to be penned in the rotation, and if you have to cross that pen out, that's going to hurt at some point, whether it's spring training next year or if that doesn't happen, because they are going to pitch him. And there's a glass half full side of it. Clearly, whatever Carlos Rodon last year wasn't what he was the previous seasons, because his stats are really good. And baseball gets everyone. So your spin zones are going to be someone like a Jose Barrios, who he signed a big extension with Toronto, and he was awful in 2022. He led the league in hits given up and earned runs given up. He had a 5.23 ERA. He bounced back this year. He had a 3.65 and 189 innings, and he was a really good starting pitcher. So, Rodon, the Yankees are forced to if they're going to be something better than last year, he has to be a lot better. And then it's going to be a question of, okay, if we start doing one of those box graphs, it's like, Carlos Rodon, is he pitching? Yes. Is he good? That's the next part of the box. It's hard to say what you can, once you write his name in the rotation, what are we going to get? Because we saw him be awful and not healthy. So if he is healthy, hope he's not awful. But yeah, that's after Cole, that's where the conversation has to start.
It would be nice if he was nice. And it'd be cool to have the 2 and 3 as lefties, make other people come over and play their righties and take away any advantage of a home run there in the short porch.
Neutralize other teams' lefties.
Oh, it's a good strategy.
Interesting.
Strategy, yeah.
That's interesting.
Do you want to place any of your personal opinions on Rodon or like leanings? Last year I think at this point I said, no, I'm excited for Bader year. I think he's going to be good, and that was an opinion I put out there early.
Right.
I don't know if I right now have any. Like I don't. Nothing will change until we get to spring, and he's been no setbacks all off season, and he gets a full slate of spring training starts. Even then, you're not gonna be like screaming from the rooftops. You still got to see it happen. But I have no lean, and I'm readying myself for a mixed bag season, hoping if we get to the postseason, he turns it on there.
Right.
That's my
That's your usual. Your usual lane. I want him to be good by the postseason, but they got to get to the postseason.
Yeah, well, they need other pitchers that need to be good down the stretch. But if Tanaka, Monty, we're always like, I'm not expecting you to be a sub 3.5 ERA guy. Just be good and when it matters, and make your starts and pitch your innings.
You mentioned it's year 1 of a 6-year contract, and he's a guy that he did earn that contract. He had 2 back-to-back lights-out years. He earned that contract. So it's create your own story, because you cannot go into next season with the expectation that Rodon, for short. You can't go into next season with the expectation that Rodon is going to be the 31 start, 2.88 ERA guy he was when the Yankees signed him, that finished top 6 in the Cy Young back-to-back years. So, does he have the ability to do that? Sure does. Like that's how he got that contract. That's how he got here. But no Yankee fan is going to have that expectation. For me, I mean, you've seen me. I've turned into my most smug, and I don't like being smug. But I've become smug with Rodon because remember, he teed it up like I'm gonna be that bad MFer. I'm gonna have the mustache going. I'm gonna have the chest showing. Like I am that guy. I'm excited for New York. Well, your first year went as poorly as it could between injuries, the pitching, and the Matt Blake stuff at the end and blowing kissies in the crowd. Like it went as poorly basically as it could. Like a year of him just being hurt and out would have been better for Yankee fans' perspective of him.
Yeah.
So this went as poorly as it could. So that's where I'm sitting. I'm sitting at the side of the table, smug as a bug, because it's teed up for him. And if he can go and shove and be that guy that he showed us the smallest glimpses of, and be like a new generation's David Wells, fire me up, and I'll cheer for you and be rah Rodon guy. But man, you have put your back up against the wall. And I want to see him. I want to see him swing his way out of it. This was a bar fight, and he's up against the wall. I want to see him come swing his way out of it and knock everyone out, and then be like, "All right, you're that guy." But he's got to do it.
He's got to do it, and I don't know if I'm expecting him to be healthy for the full season. Like miss time, but be healthy and be stretched out come postseason. I've been asking that for everyone for a while. So right now, I don't have high hopes for him to be like an ERA leader, a 30 game starter.
Sure,
I need to get there.
Okay. Yeah, well, we still
we'll 2 out of 6.
Yeah.
So let's at least be a stepping stone, huh?
We'll have time to reevaluate this, and he'll have a PPP and all that. He ended up with 14 starts this year.
Mm-hmm.
Are we good with, like, in theory, so obviously it has to be better, but like, I don't know, 20, 25 starts?
Yeah, like if he gets to that area, if he gets to
20,
above 20, then like that's a stepping stone.
And be there for the playoffs.
We're just looking for stepping stones.
Yeah.
And be there for the playoffs.
And I mean, our guy was essentially rehabbing in major league starts too. He had, 5 of those starts were below 75 pitches. So like the 14 starts is a little loophole-y there almost. This year was as much of a wash as it could be. We saw nothing from Rodon.
True. All right. Well, after him comes Nestor.
Sure. Nestor's
going to be in the rotation. 2 rotator cuff IL stints last year. Hamstring to end the year before, but that was a farce. And wasn't there a farcical hamstring this year as well, where he was running right afterwards? Or maybe that's just what Nestor does.
No, that was WBC spring. He tapped out, and he was actually a little choppy.
Yeah.
So,
wasn't great when he did pitch. But his one start between IL stints was awesome on August 5th versus Houston. 4 innings pitched, 1 run to 8 Ks. Do we think that, and we didn't talk about this with Rodon, but I've seen this on the interwebs, do we think fitness was an issue with the pitch clock and the stamina? And for a little bit, it seemed like Nestor went away from nestoring for a while and like just pitched like a straight up pitcher. And I was like, no, I still think you should do all the funky stuff. Makes you feel like you, but also he's always pitched at great speed to be ahead of the pack. I don't even know the numbers on this. I wonder if he tried to like even be faster to be even more ahead of the pack or anything. I don't know. Again,
it's an injured season. I mean, I think even when he was pitching, something felt a little off with Nestor, and the Yankees like would half allude to it and then half not allude to it, and then he was hurt, and they'd be like, yeah, his shoulder's been janky, and you're like, okay. it's a fun game to play. Yeah, I don't know that start against his one start after May. So think about that. I mean, we only saw Nestor Cortes one time after May. It was against Houston. It was 4 innings, 1 earned, and 8 strikeouts. So I don't know. The talent, I feel like the talent is in there somewhere. Even Nestor starts this year. Remember, it was almost Monty-esque that it felt like he was having a little bit of like never walked off the mound happy, but he was having days where it was like Nestor was pretty good, but there was the one thing. And so I don't know. Like when he was pitching, he did look like Nestor. There was less silly stuff, but I also remember commenting the year before that there wasn't as much silly stuff, and like Nestor was just good. Like that was our adding to the baseball lexicon. So I think that's just, if he's not pitching good, you're like, well, and he's not doing the fun stuff. So I don't know. For me, it's health, and I guess what I don't know is like, you know, everyone was doing the whole thing like, oh, Nestor's pitched a ton. He's a soft throwing lefty. He would pitch in the offseason. Well, you get older, and like innings start to add up. So I have no idea. For me, it's a health thing, and I guess pitching wise, and maybe this is rude to Nestor, and again, I'm always willing to be surprised, but Nestor was always pitching over his skis just a little bit. Like whenever we were talking about him, it was like, wait, why is he this good? And then you'd see the location, and like he really pitches, and that's fun. And you know, the fastball is, you know, he's got a little bit of an invisible fastball. But the 2.9, 2.44 Nestor never seemed fully true. It seemed like he was good, but you know, for me, it's going to be health, and if I can get the 20, 25, 30 starts out of him, I feel like I'm going to be in an okay spot with Nestor. But the back-to-back shoulder injuries one season, that's scary.
Scary in the innings. So I'm interested on, you know, if he can throw. How many innings did he throw in 2022?
158.
So if he can they shut him down. We think he was healthy, but they shut him down at one point. So, yeah, that's not that many.
Yeah, and I BBD was alluding to this as a little bit if you're opening up more bright side. Like, the fact that him and Rodon did pitch some innings this year, like, you know, it's not a completely blank, you know, 4 innings pitched or, you know, double Jameson Taillon missing 2 years. Like, these guys did end up on the mound for 60-plus innings each.
Yeah. What's a good amount of innings? You know, if you want your one, if you want Cole to be around 180, your ace to be around 180.
Like minimum.
Yeah, I'm just looking at past Yankees aces, and
sure.
it's around there.
Cole's like a.
What do you need out of the 2-3? You need another guy to help like get a good chunk, right? So Cole pitched 200 last year. Taillon pitched 177, and Nestor pitched 158. So that's a decent top 3. I don't know other teams. And then in 2021, it was 181 for Cole, 157, 144 for J-Mo and Monty, and then J-Mo. Or you have this. In 2019, it was 180 for Tanaka, 160 for Happ, 150 for Paxton, 140 for Herman. Like 4 pitchers getting, you know, 140 plus.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if you looked around baseball more, I feel like that year is probably more of an outlier. That's 4 starters doing a chunk of innings. I think if you're the Yankees, I think the more realistic lane probably feels like that 21 season where you've got Cole, $180.
Yeah, what's a good team to comp here? I guess I'll do like.
I mean, I'm trying to think.
Playoff teams?
I'm trying to think of, you know, the team that was the model before the playoffs was the Braves, and I know their pitching staff was banged up last year, so I guess I'm looking at that as a glass half full.
Nola, Wheeler, Taijuan Walker had all 170 plus, and then Rangers Warriors was 120. So they had Phillies had 4 at 120.
But like Braves last year had 3 guys over 160, Strider, Elder, Morton. Nobody else was over 78. So there's different ways to skin that cat
3,
and
4.
still be a good team. But
I think you need 3 guys over 140.
I think that's the goal, kind of like the 21 Yanks.
Yeah. 3 guys over 140. So, and Nestor and Rodon both going to be that for them next year? I don't think you can count that both of them will do that.
No, but I think if the Yankees are going to have a successful season, which there will be a shot of, one of them for sure can do that.
Yeah.
Or you're going to need one of them to do that.
I think right now I'll be optimistic enough that one of them is going to do that.
You know, I view starting pitchers as coin flips, and
coin toss.
You'd think one of these guys will have a nice 24. I couldn't tell you which one. I guess this is a fun game. If you had to bet on one having a good 2024, which one would you bet on?
Rodon.
Okay.
I'm not. Oh, I don't know actually.
Right?
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought study. Because you've got one guy who's been successful in New York.
My thought was
already,
Rodon's fastball slider play more. You know, his fastball, he can get it up there. And they tunnel well. And he's kind of like just on sight more of like, yeah, that's when you see it and it's right. Yeah, that's good. Nestor has always felt more the funky arm angles. He pinpoint location in when he's really on. Like, he can't miss a spot because he's hitting the corners perfectly with that fastball. That's 91, 92. Where Rodon, because his velo's there and his slider's so nasty, he's able to miss some spots and still miss bats. But Rodon only has 2 pitches. Like, if Rodon had a third pitch that I trusted at all, I'd say Rodon has a more of a major league mix. But because he doesn't, it makes it very close. And I don't have an answer.
It's an interesting one. Yeah. I have our socials team present that one to the people because I would actually love to see those comments. I think the vote comes back Nestor actually easily.
You'd probably get angry. Well, people aren't mad at Nestor right now as well.
Exactly. And Nestor has done it in New York, which sounds like New York bullshit, but people believe in that, and I kind of believe in it too. Not saying Rodon can't. I believe you have to perform in New York. I mean, Joey Gallo, Sonny Gray, et cetera, et cetera.
The Heen Dog did it.
Oh, World Series champion Andrew Heaney, please.
I don't hold any vendetta against the Heen Dog. The Yankees,
he was in
that situation,
awful situation.
And then, that was terrible. So that's Nestor and Rodon, the 2 question marks. We move down the list, and now we got some fun conversations about trade. Trading your old dog food in for your new dog food with Farmer's Dog?
We already did that one, Jim. But how about human food?
You did human food factor.
Yeah. I love human food. That's kind of my thing.
We get factory meals at the house too. I like them. They're I just love the ease of it. Just pop it in, heat it up. Some of them are very, 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 very tasty because even if food I don't like, but I'm like, oh, well, this mixture is tasty. Factorymeals.com/Yanks50. Use code Yanks50 to get 50% off. That's a lot of money. 50% off. It's code Yanks50 at factorymeals.com/Yanks50 to get 50% off. What's Factor? Well, convenient, nutritious meals to keep you energized on jam-packed days. America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service can help you fuel up fast for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. We actually have, is it Beebs? We have someone here Panic who eats Factor. Like before we even started working with Factor, he was like, "Oh, I eat Factor
like every day,
a lot."
He's just a customer.
He's a Factor man.
He's Factor Factory.
He's a Factor
This
factory.
body is a Factor Factory. So thanks to Factor. Factor is going to give you 50% off when you use code Yanks50.
That's Factor.
Beebs labeled these guys as trade bait. And we've been talking about them in this way a lot, is Clarke Schmidt and Michael King. Mike King. 2 guys that their value's pretty high. King's is probably as high as it's ever been. Clarke, I think, maybe was way higher before he broke onto the scene. That one, he won.
Prospect,
he won Summer Camp King.
Right.
Before he really, as a prospect, it was probably higher. But he just pitched the whole season. That has a lot of value.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad for a while, and then it was okay for a little bit. Comparison-wise, it's times Yankee fans were like, that's good, but I think comparison around the league, it was never like, that's good. So that's Clarke Schmidt.
Yeah, I'd have Clarke's value higher than it's ever been, and I would just put it into my equation of and you guys will see it next year with top prospects list. Whenever there's a top prospect list and a prospect gets called up and then they play really well, they fly up the top prospects. If you remember, Randy Arozarena broke onto the playoff scene and went nuts. He didn't lose his prospect eligibility. He wasn't a top 100 prospect, and then he became a top 5 prospect because he performed at the major league level. So seeing Clarke Schmidt throw a $159 major league innings, and he looked really solid, like especially after the start. I think, I've been targeted for my butter knives in previous years, but he came onto the scene. His first month, 6 weeks as a MLB starting pitcher were rough. We were saying like, hey, let's cut the tape. This ain't working. And kudos to him and the Yankees. One of the few snaps we'll give them for this year. They stayed with Clarke. He performed. He was very consistent, like on a normal Yankee team. Remember when we just talked about Domingo Germán's 18 wins with a 4 ERA? That's how we'd be talking about Clarke Schmidt. Like, he put them in winning positions almost every start in the second, not even the second half of the year, after the first month of the season. So I think him doing that, getting 159 major league innings, I think his value is at a peak. And then Mike King, you have to say the same. Whether it's him just breaking out and being put into a reliever role, and just continuing to climb the ladder of like, okay, yeah, this guy, he had a breakout in the minors. He could be a swing man for us to, wow, the stuff really ticked up in the bullpen. He looks kind of electric out there. And then there's the injury that's kind of scary. And then for him to come back this year, be that electric bullpen guy, and then get stretched out towards the end, very interesting. Very interesting. Both of these guys will be in a lot of trade talks. I think it's interesting organizationally for whoever the Yankees are trading with. I think whatever you value, you're going to value one of these guys more. Like Clarke Schmidt kind of has the history of, he was a starting pitcher throughout the minors. The Yankees tried a little bullpen stuff. Yeah, like he slid in the first round because he was hurt. That's how the Yankees got him. So if you value a guy that looks like he's going to be 150 innings, plug him into the rotation, and everything we just talked about, innings pitched, Clarke Schmidt, you would circle that as the more valuable guy. If you're looking for the high-end winning poker hand, I mean, Michael King, man, when he's on, you've heard me rant and rave about him for years because there's like 4 pitches when he's right that just make him feel gross. And to see him do that in the rotation with limited leash, and he walked the tightrope perfectly, man. If he had one bad start, that would have ruined his like buildup as a starting pitcher, and he didn't have it. So yeah, those guys are going to be in a lot of trade talks, and I think if you're Yankee fans, I think the appeal of King is sexier. That if we end this Yankees offseason and we get our lefty needs filled and a lot of other stuff, and King's still in the rotation, I think that feels like the perfect dream board. But you kind of have to do whatever you have to do with these guys to make the Yankees better. Yeah, feels like you have to do.
Yep. I mean, if they're going to go get a Yamamoto, I know a lot of teams are trying to get him, but if they're going to grab him, there's not many other starters on the market, like free agent-wise, that I think they'd go get unless they go get Nola.
But, yeah, if
or like any given one-year guy, if they want innings.
If you're willing to get, how do you say it? Yoshinobu? That felt wrong.
The first name I haven't nailed.
That felt Yamamoto.
Yoshi?
As you look at the free agent class, Montgomery, LOL.
Pick him up.
Snell, Nola. Yeah, and then there's a lot of guys that you're more so taking a chance on after their season. So
Ohtani.
Probably won't pitch much next year, but
would be a starting pitching.
Pick him up. Lance Lynn.
For the future.
I suppose 2 Clarke notes. One set his career high in innings by like a lot, so that the September numbers aren't great. Chance he just like kind of hit the wall that hopefully
I'm tired
isn't happening in the future. He added a lot of innings, and I believe, if I'm looking at this right, of the 2 of them, he has an extra year of control. So he think the acquiring team in a trade would get 3 years of Clarke or 2 years of King, which is noteworthy.
Yeah, Clarke's interesting because he's got value, but I don't know how much value. You still have to believe that in like upside and a lot of upside and getting better. Didn't fare well against lefties. He had a middle stretch of the season that was good, but I think he was only going 5 innings and 2 earned. Like I think it's like a 3.5 ERA and not eating innings. Still giving 4 innings to the bullpen every time out there. And then he finished poorly. So I think his second half is actually worse than his first half when you break the season half, which is kind of interesting because it felt good. It felt like a bad start and a good finish. It was actually a sandwich, the old Paxton sandwich. And the middle wasn't amazing. It was still like a 5, a 4-5 in your rotation. I think he could get better just because I think the season is him getting better and like working on the cutter and finding his location and improving. Still, the lefties hit him really good and really have like nice at-bats against him. Needs to get a changeup or something that goes away. I mean, I can't do another season hearing O'Neill and Coney like watch Clarke's pitch and be like, how does he not have a pitch that goes away from lefties over and over and over again? But yeah, one of these guys needs to get traded. If they go get a Yamamoto and they're able to move Clarke for help somewhere, then I like keeping King as the guy, like you said, just because it's so versatile.
There's a chance you got to be careful with your words a little. There's a chance Mike King can be really good. How about I'll say that?
Yep.
And I know even end of the season, September, Talkin Yanks episode's a little wonky. Remember when Jess took me to a pool party and I recorded one after that? Whoa. Off the moon. I know we talked a little bit like Mike King's an interesting, like risky extension candidate. I know we had some bad experiences with that recently between Hicks and Sevy, but like if the Yankees are bought in and you mentioned there's 2 years of Mike King and there's, I don't know, could you try to tack on 2 years at what number? Like, I don't know. It was just I thought that was also a fun conversation exercise that if King were to be the one that stays, there might be a way you can add another year or two at a nice price if he's good Mike King. But, you're adding a little more risk there. So I don't know. But
King would be really, with the way arbitration works, too, like he probably in that world is getting sort of shafted in arbitration because he didn't rack up saves and doesn't have like innings as a starter.
Yeah, what they allow you
could
to.
probably give him like a better deal than he would be getting. I'm interested. Okay.
When he's good, he looks so good.
Yeah. Well, it's like wiffle ball shit, slingshot.
He's got like some confidence in there, huh?
Yeah, but they say Clarke's the most confident person in the world. Like he's like I wonder what Clarke's similar. like, and we've chatted with him, and he's an awesome guy. Like I very enjoyed the conversation we had with Clarke, but I didn't get the confidence.
And his dad flew the plane.
Good stuff.
So one of them.
We've talked to both their dads, huh?
One of them probably has to go. Yeah.
Yeah, the Yankees don't really trade. They won't see value, match, or whatever. But one of them should be shopped. So you improve the rotation. You're forced to tie your hands to improve the rotation elsewhere while taking these guys at their highest value and move them on. Depth guys we've seen before. Next segment, Johnny Brito, Randy Vasquez, Luis Gil. Will he be healthy enough to be like in this conversation?
Ooh.
He made
he should
pitched
be.
last year.
I
Brito
kind of omitted him.
Brito much better in relief than starting role. If King goes to the rotation out of spring, look for Brito to be that 3-inning guy if he's around because he kind of did really well with it. And then Randy Vasquez, numbers didn't like him, like the analytics didn't like him, but he got results, and I think there were a couple bad outings. And none of his outings were long enough, so like the bad ones stung.
And yeah, it's kind of funny that Brito was so good in relief, and I guess on surface level, if you just watch the two pitchers pitch, you might think Vasquez would be the better relief type, just because that curveball can kind of be video game-ish when it's right. Mm-hmm. It's tough for me to picture all three of them being back, Brito, Vasquez, and Heel. You'd think one of, I don't want to say they feel redundant, but you got three guys around the same age that have had varying forms of success at the major league level. Heel was all out all of last season. You'd think one of those guys could be a pretty decent sweetener to a trade package. And for me, that's probably not Heel because, he was just rehabbing all last year. So I don't know if you're a team looking to get information on him. I don't know. I see a team either liking Johnny Brito and whether they're a team that values having a good changeup. Like, that's what Johnny Brito has with a fastball that touches 98. Baseball's in a weird spot. Or maybe you are a Vasquez team that you feel there's something more that can be tapped into there that I would expect one of those guys to get involved in a trade. For me, it feels like Brito would be a good stay swing guy because he had success in the bullpen, like kind of real success. And the Yankees will need depth there. And, hey, let's look at the Clarke Schmidt example, right? Like Clarke Schmidt, his numbers as a starting pitcher weren't very good. His numbers as a reliever were good, and then he got more experience and it developed. That Johnny Brito feels like he has more Clarke Schmidt potential in him, or just as a multi-inning bullpen guy that could establish himself because he's got two pitches you really like. It's kind of, I don't want to say comical, the lack of third pitch, but like the broadcast is talking about it.
Yeah.
And we're watching it like, oh my God. No slider, dude?
None.
No slide? That's like the second pitch you learn normally.
Yeah, and then you get your arm hurts.
Yeah,
and
it's true.
You die. What'd you say?
We all will.
Yes, that's true. I don't know. These guys for me, if they're around next year, I hope they start in the minors. Brito could probably be the last guy in the bullpen, and I wouldn't be upset by it, like the way everything else falls. If Randy is on the rotation or the bullpen, I think that means we had a couple more injuries than we wanted and a couple lack of depth that we wanted. Nothing against Randy. We just need to improve. Just need to get better.
I think in the case of both of these guys, currently 6 and 7 on our depth chart, if we come into spring training and that they're still in those spots, I'm not sure we're stoked.
Yeah. I guess that's how I feel as well.
Interested in both.
Do you have any thoughts on the next segment, Jake? Is, guys who haven't debuted yet are in AAA. We got Clayton Beeter. They got him in the Gallo trade. He'll be added to the 40-man roster. Mitch Spence, being honest with the people, I have not heard his name before. He could be taken in the Rule 5 draft if they don't protect him on the 40-man roster. Says here, note from Beebs, Matt Blake specifically mentioned Beeter and Spence as the next call-up candidates for MLB in September. And then Will Warren, he's got the highest ceiling of the three. Doesn't have to be added to the 40-man. Could be a trade piece if they go make a big trade somewhere.
He'd be a big piece, probably.
Yeah. Final 10 AAA starts, 2.10 ERA with a 4.04 FIP. So that's good.
Yeah, now I'll even Beebs put a AA group there, and I think, well, mostly the first guy's name is Richard Fitz. So have make your jokes about that at home if you want.
Dick Fitz.
Oh, Jim. Chase Hampton and Drew Thorpe.
You've never heard otherwise?
The two other.
Oh, no, that'll fit.
The two other pitchers listed are the Yankees' two top listed prospects as of now, right now on most websites, Chase Hampton and Drew Thorpe. So I think when all of these end up in the bucket, Clayton Beeter, my advanced scouts have told me he profiles better as a reliever. Well, we'll see how that develops. And yeah, I don't know. The other three to me that jump out, Will Warren got on a lot of people's tongues last year. Oh, Chase Hampton and Drew Thorpe trades. Like the Yankees need to improve their major league roster, and to do that, they're going to have to trade. And these guys are young pitchers that have each shown promise. And I think we're at the point, whether you're talking about Judge's prime or Cole's prime, hey, figure out who's going to be best and try to hold on to the best one. But we also need to attack a window because talking Yanks 2026, we're going to be talking about 36-year-old Cole and 34-year-old Judge or whatever. That like, I'm sorry, and I hope these dudes are studs, and I hope if we do trade them that they still go on to be really good because I'll root for guys always. But we need to add to the major league roster, and I couldn't tell you, none of these guys are jumping out. No Martian nicknames,
Yeah. No, oh boy, what was his name? Went to the Royals.
Don't. No.
Chance Adams. Chance is a good name.
Come on.
That is a good name.
You wanted good names. I'm giving you good names.
It was one stadium video. It was really well produced. Maybe it was you, Nick Tyrell. Maybe it was you. Someone's going to have to do it. I got. It was a sick video.
It was a cool vid. Yeah, similar to the Clarke and King further up the depth chart. Just Thorpe and Hampton feels like it would be a miss of an off season if they both ended up here. Trades can happen differently. I don't know. Feels like one of them probably gone. Area of depth.
Yeah, they got to make some trades. They could be like, nah, we're not making any trades. We like everyone.
They can make trades and they don't include those guys too. But
hey, how about this?
Feels
Yankees?
Like some similar profiles.
Maybe pick your one out of those dudes. Like if you love Will Warren, you love Drew Thorpe, you love Chase Hampton. Pick your one. Let's ride that horse. Let them be the next Monty Clarke, whoever it is. Otherwise, we
be open on the others.
God, we need to improve the MLB roster analytics
and Fanalytics, because I agree with that.
Auditing.
All right, let us know of all the guys mentioned, what would be your rotation? Wow.
And then very soon,
everyone went into the deep thought. Oh, shit, an assignment. And you also have to subscribe to the channel. Thanks.
It's true. Very soon, we'll probably do a deep dive on Yamamoto because it'll be a big topic. We'll do all the starting pitching prospects. Don't you guys worry. We'll talk about the future.
We will talk about the future.
I did, before you send it to Grams, I did type Yamamoto's name into Google because that's who I am.
Yeah.
And because I want to see how his start was yesterday because we were hyping that up. His playoff start, he was coming off a bad one. Just in the top stories section, that pops up like 6 boxes of recent news. Cubs, Dodgers, Phillies, Giants, and Red Sox all also listed. So I don't know who at home is getting full Yamamoto fever. Probably all of you because Cashman went to the game.
Yankee fans for sure don't think there are other fan bases out there.
So many teams
also think
so many
they're
teams
penciling him
in this guy.
They think it's just Yanks Mets.
Especially, and dude, this guy's electric and coming off the year that Senga had for the Mets. So many teams,
and he's 25 years old.
So many teams are penciling in this guy.
Yeah. Well,
so young.
Can he play left field?
Go Yanks. Tell him, Grams.
Go Yankees.